people on Instagram, you see people doing films, movies. My question is it the actual hype? Because I hear things like some people haven't been paid for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. But they're on billboards all across Ghana, on films that are sold out. But the pocket money, the chop money is not there. So is it actually the hype that it is? You can tell us the truth.
Can you tell it wrong? For next thing is on YouTube and Ghana Web. No, the truth about it is, there's a saying, fake it till you make it. I think most people understand that. And a lot of times, it's not necessarily sort of faking as you make it. As I mentioned in the industry, so one of my mentors, Rosa Whittaker, said something to me, and it was always stuck with me. It's like, you can't command until you're in demand, right? And how do you become, please, you can write that down. I'm not going to take Rosa Whittaker, she always says this, Lady Rosa Whittaker, she say, you can't command until you're in demand. But how do you become in demand? You need to build your name. So, and I'll tell you this, and it's happened to me many times, and you kind of alluded to it as well when you talked about. In the creative space, because you're building your brand, you're building your name, you're basically networking to get to that point. So this is what happens in Ghana. So someone's on TV, and they're on billboards, and you see, or they're on a top show, and no lie, salary-wise, is probably not even £200 a month. I'm serious. No. And it can...
You say what?
Not even £200 a month for what a big so-called media company is paying them. Please don't put me on. Please do not put this, because I know. No, but actually, I think most people know. However, what tends to happen is this. When you're on that television show, corporate Ghana comes, right? No, and obviously, I always say too, maybe the four of us on a TV show. I don't know how you negotiated when you went in. Yep. So, you may be getting 6 figures and someone is getting 200. Bottom line is how you negotiate is important. So bear that in mind that yes, it is, but I think a lot of times what happens is when people see you on that TV show, corporate Ghana comes, oh, how much she takes to host a show? 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, and they'll easily pay that. So it's about you being smart and realizing what's worth it. Also, I think I also want to just also say this. A lot of times, by your name, by the name that you built, exposure can count for something sometimes. Not all, it can. By the name that you built, I remember a few years ago, and this is a story I always like to tell. So a few years ago, most of you may not know this name, but you will know very soon, Blitz Bazawule. So Blitz Bazawule is a musician, Blitz the ambassador, based in New York, and he came to Ghana. He's like, I want to do a feature film. We literally had little to no budget, tried to raise money. I'm quite well known, so I went around to a few places, and because I don't know if they didn't want to say no to me, we had promises of finances. In the end, the people fell through. I remember at the time we were doing a film called The Burial of Kojo, and we literally were like stuck against the wall. We had been, cast. We were ready, and our financier fell through. So we made a decision, like, let's use some of our own money. Blitz brought his own money. I got some money, a few of us, and we put this film together. And when we finished, it was almost embarrassing because we couldn't finish the film, so we did a Kickstarter. Which is some people would be like, I remember at the time thinking, what the hell are these people doing? But that Kickstarter basically changed everything. We were able to raise $70,000 to finish that film. Fast forward, the film gets released, was picked up and distributed by Ava DuVernay's company to Netflix. And I remember we got a call that Beyonce had watched the film, and they told us, oh, Beyonce watched the film. Oh, Beyonce watched that film. Ooh, that's good. Not thinking anything of it. A couple of months later, Beyonce's team called Blitz, and he was one of the main directors for Black is King. Not so long after, Oprah and Steven Spielberg calls him, and just this past August, he wrapped up on The Color Purple musical, Warner Brothers. That's a $20 million film. So, Ghanaians, to be honest, if we didn't, and I always say and Blitz is, and Kwaku Boateng, who's our other partner that we worked with, we literally could have given up, but it was just that thing. This is just one example of if we didn't push through for this small film that we spent, if we call it an indie film. The beautiful thing about it was, now, by next year, when it comes out, that his name will be everywhere. We're doing his next project, we're filming in Ghana, to put that back in. But initially, if we didn't really push, and bear in mind, it took even maybe that disappointment, right? So I know I'm kind of deviating, but essentially, you need to build your name. Sometimes, yes, you're going to be earning £200. You shouldn't be earning it for too long. But if you're earning £200 somewhere, you should be getting money elsewhere. And there's been times I personally done stuff for free, but that freeness has literally led me to the corridors of power, been flowing business class, gone into countries, hosted like crazy doors, and it started for free. Just don't be taken advantage of for too long, because that's a lot of times, 10 years later, I still do free. Please, at some point, we don't do free anymore. Talk to my agent, baby.
Talk to my agent.
The area in the avenue that I work in, which is mostly within sports presenting and content creating within that space, I quickly understood that there actually is no price. Like you're asked, you get asked, okay, what's how much? What's your fee for this, right? And then you throw them back and say, oh, what's the budget?
Yes.
And then I say to you, oh no, the budget's kind of tight. Listen, there's never a case or never a time where anyone's ever going, you know what, the budget's open, you know what I'm saying? Listen, you say a number, don't worry, we'll hit it. It's never like that. So you have to understand, especially if you want to move into the business area of what this is. There's two ways. So you can either get an agent and they are well versed in that sense. But if you want to get well versed in that sense, you have to understand that this is a game. There's a game going on over here. And sometimes it's a game of chicken. You know what I mean? It's like, who's going to blink first? Are you blinking first or am I blinking first? And sometimes you say a number and they go, I'll take it. And you think, damn it! Should have gone for some more money. You know what I mean? And it happens. But as time progresses, you then begin to understand where that area sits, because you continuously try to push the needle on that, from that perspective. Even with current clients that you're still with, when the year comes around, you're like, listen, inflation is inflating. We all need to inflate. You know what I'm saying? I know you're charging other people a lot more money, so you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to take that on the front end before you get on the back end. So it's understanding all of those elements, like the macroeconomic environment, and then applying that to what fee that you're going to be charging going forward as well. So that's the way in which you kind of scale it from getting a quick £100 or £200 and doing something here. But listen, sometimes there are still £200 or £100 jobs. Sometimes there's jobs that you do for free. Nobody knows. That's the truth of the matter. It's like, the reality is, some of the biggest players in the game pay the worst, right? But you have to understand, sometimes you got to play the game, because nobody knows that. Only you and the person that's paying you know what you're getting paid. But the other people on the outside of that, they don't know what's going on. They think listen, what? Man's on BBC? What? Man's on BBC? Nah. The price has gone up. And that enables you to have your price up somewhere else. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you have to understand the game. You have to understand leverage. You have to understand the value of the opportunity, right? At the same time, you can't no one take you for an idiot. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the value opportunity, because people want to pay you an exposure. It's like, oh, you ain't paying me an exposure. How am I going to pay my bills with exposure? So you have to understand the benefits and the values of every single job that you take, and you have to run it on its own merit. That's, like I said, for me, because I look after myself, I understand those things, and I try to balance things out. For some people, they've got an agent that will just fill the whole thing out. Agent might be like, what, no money? Nah, it ain't getting done. But sometimes I'm like, I need to have oversight. I need to see what's going on here, so I can say, actually, I'm going to take that, because I can see where that can lead to, and what I'm going to leapfrog from that position. Yeah.
Thank you, David.